Welcome to Inspiring Change, the podcast where we explore the ideas and innovations shaping our future. I'm Maurice, your main host, and together we'll venture into the intersections of leadership, AI, strategy, and sustainable living. My co-hosts for this journey are Google's AI-powered research assistants from Notebook LM, whom I've named Sarah and David. They'll help guide us through rich stories, deep discussions, and insights that inspire meaningful change. Join us as we uncover not just what's possible, but what's next. This is Inspiring Change.
Hey everyone, ready to dive into something kind of cool today?
I think cool is an understatement. This one's kind of huge.
Okay, you got me. So we're tackling habit stacking. Apparently, there's a way to build better habits, not by forcing it, but by actually understanding how our brains work.
Kind of like reverse engineering productivity, right? We're not fighting our brains. We're on the same team.
Okay, I am so here for working smarter, not harder. So we've got a stack of stuff on this today. Excerpts from this habitstacking.pdf, a workbook we've got, also called Habit Stacking, and this other piece that's really insightful all about this whole habit layering thing. What are we thinking for today? What's the big mission for this deep dive?
To me, it's got to be understanding the mechanics of it all, right? Like, why is habit stacking so effective? And most importantly, how do you actually use this stuff?
Let's do it.
Let's break it down.
So super basic, what even is habit stacking? I've heard the term, but I'm a little fuzzy on the specifics.
It's kind of simple when you get down to it. So instead of trying to create some big new routine, which, let's be real, can be a lot, you take a habit you already have when you do automatically, and you basically stack a new behavior on top of it.
So it's like you're hitching a ride on an existing habit.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Let's say you make coffee every morning. You just do it. Now, let's say you want to start a gratitude practice. But instead of trying to remember it randomly, you link it to your coffee routine. So every morning, coffee's poured, boom, 30 seconds, write down 3 things you're grateful for.
I see where you're going with this, but why is this better than just trying to remember to be more grateful?
Our brains love shortcuts.
Who doesn't?
Right. They crave those patterns. So by linking a new behavior to something you already do, in this case, the coffee, you're creating a shortcut. Less effort for your brain, easier to stick with it.
Tricking our brains into better habits. I like it.
It all comes down to this thing called the cue behavior reward loop, which is like habit formation 101.
Okay, let's break that down. So we've got the cue, my morning coffee,
Right.
the behavior, writing down what I'm grateful for, and the reward is feeling good about my day.
Yeah. Or even just finishing the stack. It's like, check, did it.
But where does the whole brain hack come in?
Okay, so every time you complete that loop cue behavior reward, your brain's like, woo! It gets this little hit of dopamine. It's the pleasure and motivation chemical. Like, hey, that felt good. Let's do it again.
So the more we do it, the more it becomes automatic.
Exactly. And that's how you go from trying really hard to just doing it. Like, it's just a part of your routine.
Makes sense. How long does this rewiring take? I've heard 21 days, but I think our sources say different, right?
Yeah, the 21-day thing is kind of a myth. There's not much research behind it. This one study I saw was published in the European Journal of Social Psychology. Fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, they found it took more like 66 days on average for a new behavior to become automatic.
More than double.
Right. So patience is key. But here's the thing, that's an average. Some habits, they just click. And others, well, they take more time.
So slow and steady wins the race.
It's like making a path in the woods. You got to walk it over and over again.
This makes me think about how much we do on autopilot every day. Which reminds me, our material mentioned a habit audit. What is that?
Think of it like taking inventory, but for your habits. Before you start stacking, you got to know what you're already working with, both the good and the bad.
Like holding up a mirror to your day.
Precisely. You might be surprised. I know I was. Like, wow, I do that every day.
Totally. I always check social media first thing. Probably not the best way to start the day.
Prime example. And that's where the habit stacking workbook is clutch. It helps you break it all down.
So go through your day, morning, work, evening, and just write it all out.
Yeah. They even have you categorize them beneficial, not so beneficial, and why. Really makes you think.
So once we know our habits, how do we choose which ones to stack?
That's where we get strategic.
Right.
We got to align our habits with our goals, right? But first, we've got to talk about the benefits because trust me, this stuff can impact every part of your life.
Okay, sell me on the benefits. I need to know how this simple concept can, like, level up my life.
So we're talking career, relationships, even like personal growth. This stuff can really make a difference.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with those benefits. How is this gonna, like, upgrade my life?
Okay, so the habit stacking workbook, it's got this whole section on using this stuff for your career.
Yeah.
And it's not about like becoming a workaholic. It's more like working smarter.
I'm all about working smarter. I think everyone feels like they have to be on all the time these days, so if a few little tweaks can help, I'm all ears.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. So let's say you want to be a thought leader in your field.
Love that goal.
Yeah.
How does habit stacking get me there?
Okay, what do thought leaders do? They share ideas. They're engaged with their network. They know what's happening in their industry, right?
Right, they're part of the conversation.
Exactly. And a lot of us, we're already on LinkedIn, right? Scrolling. But it's passive. So what if, hear me out, after you check LinkedIn, you commit to like one thoughtful comment on something that really resonated with you, an article, a post, whatever.
Totally doable, and over time, people start to notice you.
Right. You go from just reading to actually contributing. Small change, big impact, potentially.
This is blowing my mind. Okay, but what about relationships? Like, those feel way less straightforward than career goals. Can habit stacking really help with that?
You're right. Relationships are tricky. But just like habits, they need consistency. We always think about the big gestures, but honestly, it's the little things, right? Just showing up every day.
So we're talking, like, weaving those little moments into our routine.
Yes. For example, you want to show your partner you appreciate them. But you get busy, life happens.
Story of my life.
Okay, so what if every night after you brush your teeth, you tell your partner one thing you appreciate about them?
Okay, that's actually really sweet. It's small, but I bet it would mean a lot.
Exactly. You're creating a little ritual. Brushing your teeth, that's the cue. The behavior is the appreciation and the reward. Feeling closer to your person.
Okay, that's great for romantic relationships, but what about, like, our relationship with ourselves? You mentioned personal growth.
Right. Personal growth is all about pushing boundaries, right? Learning, growing, all that. But it can be intimidating. Habit stacking makes it less scary.
Okay, because I feel that. Like, I want to read more, I want to learn a new language, but...
You can't find the time. I feel you. Okay, so say you're trying to learn Spanish, right? Instead of like a whole hour of studying, which who has the time, what if you linked it to something you already do?
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes of a Spanish show on Netflix after dinner.
I see what you're doing. It's not this big, separate thing anymore. It's just part of my routine.
Exactly. And those 5 minutes, they add up. Trust me. You'll be surprised how much you learn without feeling like you're sacrificing your downtime.
So it's not I don't have time. It's I can make this a micro habit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Work with your brain, not against it. And that actually brings up something else super important, especially with personal growth, being kind to yourself.
Oh, self-compassion. That's like the hardest part. So how does that fit into habit stacking? So self-compassion, like how do we actually do that while we're trying to build these new habits?
Well, it starts with how we talk to ourselves. Like instead of freaking out when you miss a day or two or a week, what if you just acknowledge that, hey, you're human, right? Life happens. It's about progress, not perfection.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into that all or nothing trap.
Right. And honestly, one missed day, it's not a big deal. Just get back on track. No guilt trips allowed. Remember the dopamine we talked about?
Yeah, the brain's happy juice.
Exactly. Guilt and shame, they do the opposite. Stress hormones, they kill motivation.
Okay, so acknowledge the slip up, be kind to ourselves, and move on. Got it. But what about that initial motivation? How do we keep that fire going, especially when things get tough?
Accountability. Find a buddy.
Ooh, a habit buddy. I love that.
Right. It's amazing how much easier it is to stick to something when you know someone's got your back.
Totally. Or even just like telling someone your goals, asking for support.
100%. And honestly, don't underestimate the power of like the internet. Online groups, forums, whatever,
Right.
Just knowing you're not alone, it helps so much.
It's true. It's easy to feel like you're the only one struggling, but when you connect with people, it's like, oh, we're all in this together.
Exactly. Positive vibes all around.
So self-compassion, accountability, community, this is more than just checking things off a list, isn't it?
It's about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And speaking of, we got to talk about reflection.
Reflection. Okay, what do you mean?
Just checking in with yourself,
Yeah.
Do these habits still work for you? Do they feel good? Maybe something needs to change.
So it's not set it and forget it. Got it.
Exactly. Your habits should work for you, not the other way around.
This has been amazing. I feel like I have like a whole new understanding of habits.
Me too. It's wild how something so simple like stacking one thing on top of another can make such a difference.
So as we wrap up, what's like one big final thought you want to leave people with?
Well, we talked about goals, right? But really, it's about building a life you don't need to escape from. It's about waking up every day and feeling good about your routine.
Wow. That's beautifully said. So it's not about checking boxes. It's about creating a life you love.
Exactly. One good habit at a time.
Love it. That's a wrap on habit stacking. Until next time, everyone, keep diving deep